Alright, so I'm actually home now, as you can see. I had some technical difficulties in part of the videos I was making at the studio, and the video just cut out at one point. You know, I'm new to this stuff. Give me a break. Um, so what I missed, what I lost, was actually showing you how to actually take your crappy mini jack earbud thingies and strip them and get them ready to solder to your piezo. So your results might vary. It depends on what kind of these things you have, as I mentioned, and these are different than the ones that I had at my studio. Uh, this is but it is simply whoops, can you see that? Tip ring sleeve, tip ring sleeve. So just three connectors. um, Tip ring sleeve. We've talked about that before. Now this one is interesting. It's from Hewlett Packard. Ooh, name brand. I can't remember where I got this from. It has a little volume knob here, little slider here, which actually could be interesting and useful, provided it doesn't add noise to my signal, uh, as a little trimmer on my microphone. So in the video edit to come up with, I actually just clipped this. So I just had the tip ring sleeve going to the cable, and I clipped away all this junk here. But I'm gonna do this one. I'm gonna do differently because I might want to use this. I kind of like this volume pot here. It's not a mute switch, by the way. It's a volume pot. So the ones with the mute switches, you probably want to get rid of that. Uh, so what do we got? We got two buds, right, left and right ear. So uh, the way these stereo headphones work is that there's one channel going into the tip. Oh, let me get that negative. One channel going into the tip. One channel, I think it's the left goes tip. Ring is your right ear, and the sleeve is your common ground. Uh, so so they share one wire, even though we got two wires here. Uh, in the jack, one of the wires that is connected to each of the earbuds is actually the same wire. So it's two wires that then end up becoming just three. I mean, it's two wires, it's four wires that end up actually becoming three in your headphones. But for a microphone, we just want two. Okay. Yeah, sorry, that might be confusing. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip the buds off, right? And then I'm going to find the common wire, and that's what I'm going to solder to my microphone, to my single microphone, which only has two pins, as you'll see. Um, Now, I could theoretically have two microphones. And in fact, these buds are microphones. You can just talk right into them if you want. And that could be useful. But again, one of the nice things about piezo is you can just drop it into a vat of oil, and you can boiling oil, no, just some vegetable oil, and it'll still work. And that vegetable oil will actually change the quality of the sound, and that's what's fun about doing these homemade microphone thingies. Is because this is cheap stuff. You don't really have to worry about it. I'm not going to drop one of my Neumann U89s into a vat of oil. That would be really dumb. uh, but this I can do that with and have fun with it. Uh, okay, so again, I have all kinds of strippers, right? These I keep on my keychain at all times because that's the kind of guy I am. Um, and so I'm going to use these to little Leatherman from Radio Shack, Leatherman electrical thing and electronic thing. And so I'm going to use these to strip. Now this is a knack. You got to get, it's like a Zen thing. You got to get kind of good at it, especially if you're doing little thin things like this. The cables are so thin, but let's give it a try. So first I'm just going to clip off the buds. Up, clip the buds. Up. Yeah, not the best clippers in the world. Clip the buds. Okay, bonk. Cut it off, throw it out, or keep it. I usually don't cut it all the way down to here. Whoops, here. just so I have a little bit of something should I want to actually use these elsewhere. All right, so clip. Okay, and so now I got two wires here with my volume pot in the middle. Pot potentiometer. Pot. We call them pots. And then my crappy mini jack tip ring sleeve. So I'm going to strip these very carefully. Well, let's see if I can get this nicely in the camera. And again, this is a knack. And you got to get used to it. Okay, so there I've got something there. I've stripped. Yep, you can see that sort of. I've got two wires. One in this case is green. Yeah, one is green. One is green. The other is copper. Seems to work well if I hold it up in front of my hat, which, by the way, I never take off. uh, One is green and one is copper, and they're really, really skinny. Okay, so now I'm going to do the other side. You know, trying to do basically the same length. Oh, and what do I got here? I got a copper, and a red. And these, because they're so skinny, they're actually enameled, and they got some nylon in there. But everything is thin enough that when you solder it, it will melt through the other junk. You should be able to get a good connection. You know, sometimes I take a lighter first and burn off a little bit or a match. But I've found that it's best when they're these skinny little suckers like this. It's best to just melt it in because this is getting way too fussy. Okay, so we have a green and a red, and we have two coppers, green and a red, and two coppers. Well, the coppers definitely go together, right? Because that's actually the common ground. Now, if I was to put two microphones onto this, I would solder copper and red to the two terminals of my piezo, and I would solder green and copper to the other two terminals of my other piezo, and I would have two mics. But the way a mini jack works as a microphone input, I'm pretty sure it's mono. Pretty sure. Your system might vary. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to take my coppers, right? And so, because that's basically one cable already, and I'm going to twist them together here, and I'm going to take my green and twist it to the coppers. Right, so I've got the two coppers and one green, and they're all twisted together like this. So I'm basically shorting my ring and my sleeve and making them one connection, so it's a mono connection. This is the same thing as a big 1/4-inch jack like you would use on your guitar. Oh, I have one over there, but I've shown you those before. Okay, so now I have basically two connections, and red. It is just an industry standard that red should be the tip, right? So it should be the tip. Every now and then I find something that was actually wired up with a different color scheme, but usually red is the tip. If I had my multimeter with me, I could actually test it, but I'm not worried. One way or another, this is going to work out. So I've stripped these two guys. And now, and I've taken the additional cables and the two coppers, which is ground, and the one green, which would probably be the right in your earbud. But I'm just going to run them all down into a single input. So again, what I've done is I've shorted the sleeve and the ring. So now it's just tip sleeve, equivalent to being tip sleeve. Now, I do this because I know that this has worked in the past. Two ends here, even though this has got three, it's actually two ends here. I've made it into two ends. So, because I'm not having headphones, I have one microphone. Try not to use my middle finger. Okay, so I think now I can cut back to the original video.